Hello, if you're seeing us on Facebook Live, we're setting up for tonight's performance. So this is just a technical setup. We'll be starting at 8:10 tonight. So tune back in on Facebook Live at 8:10 for the show. Okay, Joe, I'm just going to check one thing. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right, good. So I think we're all set. So I'll check back in with you at 7:10, and we should also do a checky on attendee to panelist.
Okay, you mean once we have an attendee?
Once we have a panelist,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean attendee. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
See you later. Hey, Joe.
Hey there.
Hey. So just do, so yes, we should start recording, please.
All right.
And good. So I'm just going to test. Okay, good. Test, test.
Sounds good.
All right. Test, test.
Sounds good.
Test, test.
And good.
Thank you. Okay. All right. And let's just make sure. All right. Audio. All right. And up here. Do you hear that tapping?
Tap. Heard the tap. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, great. Then I will check in a little bit before 8.
A little before 8. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
If you're seeing us on Facebook Live, we'll be back with the live show at 8:10. Bye. Hey, Joe. Checking in, Joe.
All right.
Hey. So let's do our sound thing. Uh, Let me see. Okay. Test, test.
Sounds good.
Okay. Test, test.
Sounds good.
Okay. Test, test.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. Thank you. And the lighting's all right.
Lighting is good.
Okay, great. So, welcome everybody. We're going to begin in just a few minutes. Thanks for being here tonight. One thing that's going to help you tonight is to have a candle and something to light it with. Yeah, candle and something to light it with. So you can look for that. There'll be a few minutes before we start. It'd be great. And if the candle can be in a stand, so it can stand up, right? That'd be great. All right. Also, if you could have your phones handy, that'd be great too. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we will begin shortly with contemporary art. Yay. All right, Joe. See you in a bit. Welcome. Welcome. My name is Little Beasley. I'm your professor for this evening in this presentation on contemporary art, specifically conceptual art. And I'm Professor Little Beasley. Now, that's not my real name, of course. I was not given that name at birth, but I am a conceptual artist, so I reconceived myself. I reconceptualized myself. And I took my birth name and I put that away and I embraced a new name, Little Beasley. Now, the reason I got this name is I, as an artist, project love. I also accept love. And so I wanted to turn my name into something that meant love. Well, the first thing I loved after my parents was my first little cat named Beasley. So furry, a little tabby, just adorable. Then I needed a first name, and what I remember best about little Beasley, other than touching her, was when my mommy would call Beasley into the house. She'd stand on the back porch and she'd go, "Little Beasley, little Beasley, little Beasley," just like that. So I took Little as my first name, Little Beasley. Thank you for joining me this evening. I would like to start by surrendering some authority. Let's see if we can get rid of some authority just to begin with, okay? So I'm the authority. I'm going to give up some authority, and just briefly, but let's see if we can do this. So I'm going to ask people to do something, but I'm going to do it first to show you that it can be done and that it's not that big a deal. I'm going to share a picture to this presentation, all right? So I'm going to go down to the bottom of my screen and there's a screen share button. And I press that. And then what's on my desktop is a picture off my desktop. So I'm going to click on that picture and then I'm going to share it. And there you see my picture. That's my picture, my contribution to this presentation. So I'm going to put that away by clicking Stop Share. And now we're going to make you, attendees, presenters on Zoom so that you can add your own picture to this presentation. If you're on Facebook Live, you can put an address of a picture into the comments box and we can look at that. So why don't you go ahead and add a picture. Go down to share screen, and then you can click on a picture and add it to this presentation. Now, a lot of you are thinking, I'm too shy for this, or I'm self-conscious, or maybe you're thinking, I just don't want to do it, or you're thinking it's stupid. Those reactions are all fine. That's all fine. That's all artistic. All artists feel those things, but they push past them because that's where art resides, on the other side of those feelings. So go ahead, let's see if somebody can add a picture, any picture, to this presentation. And I'm also going to check on Facebook Live to see if people have been able to add something. Oh, we have a note. And somebody's added a smile. Thank you. Yay, there's a smile in chat. So you can all look at chat down below. And if you open it up, you'll see a smile. So somebody gave us a nice smile. Nice, yes. So I'm also going to take a look at Facebook Live to see if somebody is having an artistic moment and adding something to our presentation. Let's go into Facebook Live. And I'm scrolling down to the presentation and I'm looking to see if somebody's added something. Okay, let's see. Interesting. Okay, oh, there's my voice. So we have people watching. Somebody commented that they're watching. All right, and good. We had somebody add to chat, which was great. We got a smile. Thank you. Okay, great. We're making a big step forward. Terrific, terrific. So to those of you who actually were able to contribute, how do you feel now? How do you feel now? Oh, Here's a screen. Somebody's added a screen. Yay! Look at that. There's somebody's desktop. Look at that. Thank you. Thank you. I see tax forms. Wow. Incredible. Thank you so much.
Oh, I didn't mean to show that.
Oh my God, we've got a voice. Somebody's added their voice. Lovely. Good. Well, thank you, Bill. It's lovely to see your screen. And
I might get sued if you see tax forms.
I know. Well,
I
I think you're an accountant, so that makes sense. And that beautiful streetscape. Thank you, Bill. Wow. Yay.
Oh, is that what you're looking? Can you see the streetcar?
Oh, I can't. Oh, yeah, there it is. Oh, is this New Orleans?
It's New Orleans, Canal Street, and it's a part of a slideshow that's on my screensaver.
I love it.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
No smut, nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about. Nothing scary. Great. So then, Bill, you're going to want to go to the top of your screen and click Stop Share. Do you see that?
No.
At the very top of your screen, next to the share, you're going to want to stop share.
I don't know how to do
that.
I don't see. Oh.
Do you see it up there?
No, I don't.
You can also just click off on your screen. There we go. Yay, we did it. Yay, terrific. Good.
I think Joe is doing it.
Oh, well, we'll give you credit, Bill.
All right.
Lovely. So those of you who came in, that's great. We did it. If you can now turn off your mics, and that's in the lower left-hand corner, you'll see a little mic button. You can turn that off. So great, that's lovely. So let me ask the people who did contribute something, how do you feel now? How are you feeling now? Do you feel proud of what you contributed? Did you feel like envious that something else somebody contributed? Do you feel like, I don't know, are you kind of embarrassed about what you showed us about yourself? These are all fine. These are all artistic reactions.
You told me to mute and then asked me to talk.
Yes, fair. Well, then you got to talk. That's terrific.
Okay. First you asked me to mute. So, but the experience is that I feel more connected and it feels more like live theater.
Well, it is live theater. Yeah, this is live. It's actually happening.
But I'm part of it, like I was in the house rather than just watching.
Exactly.
Because in the last Thursday, I'd scream and yell at you. You couldn't hear me.
Well, now we can hear you.
All right.
So this is great. So we are surrendering some authority in art. Art is all about authority. It's all about disciplines. It's all about formalism. And here we are in this moment, surrendering some authority, right? And we're giving it up. Now, this dates back to a period in art during World War I and an art movement that arose out of World War I, okay? And it's fascinating because World War I to me was a favorite subject when I was a kid. Here's a book. I used to check this book out of the library. Now I own it. And I love this book. And it was full of great pictures. It's all pictures of all planes and tanks and machine guns and zeppelins and submarines. An incredible book, but very few pictures of dead bodies. Now, the text of the book, which I never read because I didn't have time to read text, I just wanted to look at the pictures. The text talks about the millions of men who died and women who died in World War I. But the pictures, there are very few pictures of death in this book. So I can show you one. Here is a skeleton, an unburied skeleton, right? One of the very few pictures of death in this book. So what was the artistic response during the war? Did the artists step up? And because the pictures weren't available, did they create artwork that showed death? Well, not really. Here's a picture, an illustration of the Kaiser holding a skeleton's hand, and on his other side is a Grim Reaper, sort of, but not really showing bodies, the toll of war. Why is this? How come there's so few pictures in this war book about death? Because I didn't care about death. I never saw it. I just thought all the great tools, all the tanks, all the machines, that's what I grooved on. I was unaware of the death. So why this reluctance to show it? Well, it dates back to 1862, when a photographer named Matthew Brady went to the battlefield at Antietam, the Civil War battlefield in Maryland. And he took pictures of the battlefield. Then he brought the pictures back to New York. And here is one of the pictures. Dead bodies on the battlefield at Antietam near the Dunker Church. So he brought his plates back, his film back. He developed it, he printed it, and he put the pictures in the window of his gallery in New York City. People walking by stopped and looked at these pictures of dead bodies. There had never been pictures of dead bodies on a battlefield before. People were horrified. They were absolutely terrified. They could not believe what they were seeing. It was shocking. And it was very upsetting to the government because the government didn't want these pictures to be shown. The military didn't want these pictures to be shown. The newspapers did not want these pictures to be shown because, of course, they showed the real face of war. Now, of course, parents knew that their children were dying in the Civil War. People knew that people were dying, but they only saw coffins. They'd never seen dead bodies on a battlefield before. And from that moment forward, dead bodies on a battlefield were repressed because governments are not interested in perpetuating the horrors of war. They don't want to perpetuate the images. The images are damaging. So these books coming out in the 50s, 60s, and 70s were essentially pro-war. They talk about death, but they show very few pictures of it. The suppression of pictures of death. Now, this is interesting. There's something else that's going to come up later in our discussion. Matthew Brady, it turned out a few years ago, was discovered he didn't take those pictures. They were taken by his assistants. He went down to Antietam with his assistants. The assistants took the pictures. Matthew Brady just orchestrated it. But here's the thing. That is conceptual art. You don't have to do the work. You just have to come up with a concept. So in many ways, Matthew Brady is revealed as an early conceptual artist. So World War I, what happened? Millions of people die, and the arts movement in Europe, all of the artists in Europe are horrified. They are terrified what's happened. It is a disaster. It's like that movie Terminator, where men make the machines and the machines take over and start killing all the men. That's exactly what happened in World War I. And the artistic community is outraged. They say it's complete failure of authority. Politics has failed. So society has failed. Even the artistic community has failed. They have all failed because they've let the machines get out of control and kill millions of people in this devastating conflict. So the artistic community takes a very interesting approach because they accept some responsibility. And they say that even in the arts community, we've failed. We've failed to depict this, to stop this. So we have to surrender some authority. And they come up with an arts movement called Dada. Now, Dada is a word that was pulled out of a hat. It's a random word. It means nothing. But they like that word because it meant nothing. And also it has an infantile feel to it, a beginnings feel, a new beginnings. And this was going to be a new beginning to the whole arts movement. It sounds like mama, dada, like a little baby, right? So that was the Dada movement. And the Dada movement was going to strip away all authority. It was going to get rid of museums and patrons and people who went to museums and backers and dealers. It was going to get rid of all this apparatus of art and get art back to something fundamental and simple and direct and silly and imaginative and creative. Now, one of the preeminent artists at the time was Marcel Duchamp. And he's a brilliant painter, but he put aside painting and became a Dada artist. Later in my life, I would find images of dead bodies on the battlefields of Europe in World War I. These are Italian soldiers at Caporetto in northern Italy, heaps of them, but these were not available back then. And you still have to look for them. And to this day, if you're watching the news, you might see dead bodies, but mostly you'll see explosions and tanks and planes. The dead bodies are suppressed. So Marcel Duchamp, overwhelmed by the failure of art to participate in stopping all this, to even depict it, strips art back through Dada. And he presents his latest sculpture, this, called Fountain. This is what he puts into a museum. In 1917, before the war is even over, he puts this into the museum. What is it? It's a urinal. He found it at the dump. It's urine-stained urinal. And he said, this is sculpture. Of course, he was making a comment on museums, on collectors, on people who appreciate art. He was making a comment on the whole thing. It's just piss. It's excrement. It's waste. This was his comment, Fountain. And of course, he didn't make this. He didn't create this. This is a ready-made. He found it and turned it into art. And this was the recreation of art. It's a concept that he had. It is a truly conceptual moment. And that's where we are right now. In Dada, it's anti-authority, it's conceptual. And as we move through the century, conceptual art gets rolling. And it emphasizes it's not the concept, right? That's finished. It's just the concept. It's conceptual. It's not execution, right? It's enactment. It's not commodification. So if you're in the museum and you see the Mona Lisa on the wall, the Mona Lisa is a commodity. It's finished. It's static. It has no life. What is interesting about the Mona Lisa is the moment of creating it, the concept, the conceptualization. So if we had Da Vinci painting the Mona Lisa, that might be fascinating. But as a work of art, it carries too much authority and it is static and it is dead. The conceptual artists will get us back to the moment of creation. They're not interested in the artifact because the artifact is dead. It's like all artifacts, it is dead. Now, there's some very famous conceptual artists, Damien Hirst, Jeff Koons, and the amazing thing is they don't make their art. They don't make it. They have artisans make it. They stand in a factory surrounded by people building their concept. They conceptualize it, but they don't make it. Think of a producer saying, that's my movie. He doesn't care about the director, the writers, the actors. It's his movie because he produced it. That's what the conceptual artist is. Somebody who produces it. Now, an early conceptual artist in the United States is a man named Chris Burden. It's fascinating because, of course, we saw in World War I that the bodies of the men were reconfigured by politics, right? The bodies were destroyed, torn apart, ripped up, mutilated by politics. So Chris Burden is now going to manipulate his own body with art, conceptual art. One of his first conceptual art pieces from 1971 is Crucified Volkswagen. He actually crucified himself on a Volkswagen. And what he did was he had his attorney nail nails into his hands, through his hands, and actually nailed him to a Volkswagen. Now this, resonates with fascism, the Nazis. The Volkswagen was Hitler's car for all the people. It's also commodities. Christ crucified himself on a cross. Now we're crucifying ourselves on commodities. So it speaks to the commodity culture, the commodification of America. So he's now crucified on his Volkswagen. This was done by his attorney because his attorney would be the one person who could navigate the legal hassles of this if the police got involved. They then backed the car out onto the street, a side street in Venice, California, and it sat there for a minute so that people could see it. Then they drove it back into the garage and closed the door. And the artistic moment was over. That's it. There's no artifact in a museum. It's not like that, he ended up, Chris Burden ended up in a museum crucified to VW for the rest of his life. No, there's nothing to see. It's gone. The moment is gone. And here are his hands. And you can see that they've been stigmatized. There's the stigmata. They actually hammered the nail through his hands. But there's no artifact, nothing. Next, that same year, he created Shoot. And in Shoot, a guy held up a rifle and shot Chris Burden. So there's the rifle and Chris Burden. Now, Chris Burden was standing against a wall and the rifle was supposed to shoot him in the arm, but he sort of stepped to the side at the last millisecond. And instead of hitting the arm directly, it went through the outer part of the arm, but it did hit his arm and it went all the way through. It's a low caliber rifle. And here is Chris Burden's arm after that shot. And here is Chris Burden. They said he was white. He was white in the face, ashen, in shock. There he is after it happened. Now his attorney again was there. He said, we have to make a police report because a gun was fired at somebody. And if the police get involved, they're probably going to call a paramedic. And, so there was a whole process around it, but that was all part of the art. And the artistic moment is over. Chris Burden didn't stand in a museum getting shot every day so that people could watch. The moment is over. Now there's one problem with all this. And that's that, well, think about it. Documentation. I've shown you pictures. I've shown you documentation. So in a way, this conceptual art is compromised because we have documentation, which is getting pretty close to an artifact. It's getting pretty close to something on the wall. It might not be worth much, but it does document that this actually happened. Another famous conceptual artist is Christo. You know Christo from his big fence, in Sonoma and Marin counties that went into the Pacific Ocean. His Reichstag wrapped. They wrapped the Reichstag, the capital in Berlin, which resonates with fascism, communism, democracy, the commodification of government. It's all wrapped up like a present, right? Now, the thing with Christo's pieces is they don't last long. They're up for either a month or 6 months or a year, and then they're gone. So again, it's about the concept. It's about the enactment, not the execution, not the executed moment. Because these artists think that once a piece of art is executed, like the Mona Lisa, it's dead. It truly is executed. So these pieces go away. So how does Christo make any money? Well, he has these big books that he sells, big, huge books, which are full of pictures of the event. He also sells his designs. He sells his artwork, his sketches that portrayed what he was going to do. So this one is a valley curtain. This is a valley in Colorado, and he strung this massive curtain across this valley. And here you see it. There's the curtain across the valley. And this is a road that cuts through the curtain, so you could drive your car or ride your bike or your horse even. It's Colorado. There are pictures of people riding horses through it, through this opening, right? All documented in this big book. Now, this book cost a lot of money. I couldn't afford this book. I found it on the street. That's the only reason I have it. And again, we're into the area of documentation. In other words, these conceptual moments aren't true conceptual moments with all this documentation. So it's a weird gray area, and many critics have, like Robert Hughes, have criticized the conceptual artists for all this documentation. So I told you I was interested in World War I. I'm fascinated by military history, although I've learned the consequences, definitely. But I'm fascinated by military history as history. I'm a pacifist, but I love the stories. And I try to think of what is a completely conceptual battle, because battles leave pictures, they leave battlefields where you can see trenches and things. They leave all sorts of collateral, right, that you can go and see. What's a completely conceptual battle? Well, ancient battles, right? Because there's no pictures, there's no photography, there's no film, right? We have accounts, but even the accounts disagree with each other. So we're not quite sure what happened. It's a completely conceptual battle. Okay, well, then you can say there's still an authority because somebody won the battle and that influenced history and were affected by history. So you can say that Julius Caesar is the authority, Scipio Africanus, they made Rome great. But what about a battle where nobody won? If you look at the Battle of Moscow during the Napoleonic Wars, Napoleon fought Kutuzov outside Moscow, nobody won. It was a draw, right? So that is a battle without successful authority. It's a draw. I like to think of it as a completely conceptual battle. So what is a conceptual work of art? Successful? Well, let's go back to Christo, because in 1962, he created Iron Curtain. Here's a picture of Iron Curtain. What he did was he took steel drums and he stacked them between the buildings on either side of a street in Paris, stacked them 3 stories tall, all the way up, blocking the street. And he called it Iron Curtain. And of course, this is referring to the Berlin Wall, the separation of the Soviets from the democracy, from the East from the West. This is truly an Iron Curtain, all these stacked drums. But this isn't the document, because this isn't the event. The event was the traffic jam it caused, because behind these steel drums, a huge traffic jam developed. People were furious. They were honking. They wanted to get through. They were shouting. They were bumping into each other. That was the moment, and it wasn't photographed. So it's a truly conceptual moment. And it captured this whole idea of the Iron Curtain beautifully, because all these people were trying to get somewhere, just like people in East Berlin trying to get out, or people in West Berlin trying to visit their relatives in East Berlin. They're trapped and frustrated. This is a wonderful moment in conceptual art because there's no picture of it. We have only the story, like an ancient battle. We have only the account of it. And it captures beautifully this actual moment in history, the Berlin Wall. So let's do another art project together. I'll do it first, and then I'll ask you to join me. Maybe you can do it too. This is a conceptual moment. We're creating a theatricalized moment, a work of art that will then disappear. Okay? I'm going to call somebody up and apologize. This is somebody very close to me, and I have never apologized to them for this event. I'm going to call them, and then I'm going to put them on speakerphone so you can hear them. You can hear the whole conversation. So here we go. You should hear ringing.
Hello?
Oh, hi, it's me.
Hi.
How are you?
Me?
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Good. So listen, do you remember that you had some silver commemorative coins when you were like 8 years old?
Vaguely. What did they commemorate?
It was like a bicentennial thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think somebody gave me a set and I collected, $2 bills, weird coins and a little bit, yeah.
Do you remember that I stole them?
No, I don't.
Well,
You stole them.
yeah, there were 13 of them. They were silver dollars commemorative. And I stole them and I went to the hobby store and I bought stuff. And mommy knew I did it and she confronted me. And I never apologized to you for that. So I wanted to.
Well, okay. I have no memory of that whatsoever. I remember silver dollars. I don't remember suddenly losing a collection. But
well, that's nice.
I'm sure with some preparation, I could remember many things I could apologize to you for.
I just wanted to say I'm sorry that I stole those things, and that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to apologize.
Okay.
Well, all right. I'll talk to you later. I love you.
I love you.
Okay.
Nice chatting. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye, David.
All right. Bye.
So, is there somebody out there, you should now all be panelists. Is there somebody who would like to turn on, you can turn on your mic in the lower left-hand corner. You can make a call and you can turn on your speaker on your phone and we can hear you apologize. Is there somebody who'd like to make an apology as a contribution to our surrendering of authority?
I see you're not hearing from anyone, but I have a story that mirrors the one you told, and it's years ago, and it seems apropos if I could do that.
Yes, please.
Yeah. I was a kid. My dad died when I was young, and my mom kept a lot of his jewelry in a drawer in her bureau. And I can't remember why, but one day I took his money clip and his tie clip with his initials on it. And I kept it forever. I don't even remember when I took it. Subsequent to that, the house got robbed. And I preserved those things. Then, even decades later, I confessed to my mom and I told her that I had done it. I said, what can I do to make it up? She said, my grandson, who's named after your dad, is getting married next month, and he wanted something from his grandfather to have at the wedding. So I actually gave it to her to give to him. Have I said it clearly enough?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So they got to somebody who still has them.
Right. I kept one and gave one to, it turns out, my nephew, her grandson, who's named after my father. So he's got the initials, same initials,
Uh-huh.
and he has a tie clip. And it came from an apology.
Right.
If I hadn't apologized, I wouldn't have been able to complete it.
Well, thank you. That's terrific. Good.
Okay.
Thanks. Almost better than a phone call. The full story. Thanks, Bill.
Oh, sure.
So apology is related to memory, and memory is related to loss. A lost friend, a lost item, a lost opportunity, a lost love. And I became a conceptual artist because of an artist who inspired me. His name was Felix Gonzalez Torres. And his work is concerned with memory and loss. He is a conceptual artist. He was gay. He was Cuban American. He died in 1996 of AIDS. And before he died, he watched his lover die of AIDS. He watched him die. The first time I saw Gonzalez Torres' work was in a museum, and I was shocked by the simplicity of it. And then I was outraged by the vulnerability of it. It was just light bulbs hanging down a wall, and it was called Last Light. I walked into the gallery and I saw these light bulbs coming down the wall. And then I saw that they were also on the floor, just as you see here. And I realized immediately that they were incredibly vulnerable, that anything could happen to them, that we as spectators could destroy this work. And if this is a life, we could destroy this life. We could step on them. We had to be incredibly careful. And the story, of course, here is AIDS, the vulnerability of a gay man whose life is so fragile that at any minute it could disappear because somebody stepped on it. Also, of course, the bulbs would burn out. Eventually, these bulbs would die. Eventually, this whole strip would die. I never saw anything so simple used so potently. And of course, I could relate to all this because I loved light bulbs. I thought they were wonderful. I thought they were magical. And here they were being used as a metaphor for death, for AIDS, for the vulnerability of gay men in the 90s. Another piece of his work was called Lover Boys. And it was a whole bunch of candies in the corner of the gallery, 355 pounds of wrapped candy. And you could go over and eat the candy, and everybody was. All of the people in the museum were going over and eating the candy, consuming it. And of course, what we were doing was slowly taking away the body of his lover, of Felix's lover. We were consuming it. And this is what is so clever about this art, because not only were we consuming it, but we were acquiring it. These pieces would sell for millions of dollars, but we could have them for free. But the responsibility was we were killing, we were destroying. There was another piece he did, which was a photograph of a bird, and it was blown up to about this size. And there was a huge stack of these photographs of birds printed up on paper. And we could take one. Every single person in the museum that day took one, rolled them up, and everybody left from the exhibition with an original Felix Gonzalez Torres under their arm. We didn't have to go to an auction house. We didn't have to go to Christie's or Sotheby's. We didn't have to talk to Larry Gagosian. We just got it. He gave us one of his masterpieces, but the price was we were destroying the body. Finally, the most moving to me, because it spoke right to something that was so dear to me growing up, was his beaded curtains. I was in an art museum in Seattle, and I saw my first beaded curtain. There it was, and it hung between two rooms, two art galleries, and you had to pass through it to get into the next art gallery. Now, I grew up in the 70s, so many of my friends' mothers had been hippies, and they had beaded curtains in their houses, and it brought back my childhood. And of course, I would pass through it gloriously. And it was such a sensual experience passing through it, because it dragged my body and it made sounds, it rubbed me, it touched me, which was like sex, right? And also it was incredibly vulnerable. It could be destroyed, just like I'm trying not to step on these bulbs. It could be destroyed like the bulbs. It was so transparent, so delicate. And of course, as we passed through it, we were entering something. So it was like sex itself. We were penetrating this object. I'll never forget the feel, the sensual experience of passing through those beads. Magic. He captured it. He captured death, he captured sex, he captured life, he captured vulnerability. It was so magical to see his work. And I knew that that's where conceptual art was, because these things change. The body disappears, the pictures disappear, the light bulbs go out or get stepped on. Even that is always in motion. The magic of his work. So let's create our own body. I mentioned earlier for you to get a candle, right? So if you've got your candle, why don't you get your candle? If you've got a stand for it, that'd be good. And let's call this candle a life. This candle is a life, okay? That's a life. And we're going to begin this life by lighting it. So light your candle. Now this life has begun. And now it's dying. This life is passing. And candles, like the screens, like the candies on the floor, are very sensual. They provide light. Some of them smell, so you can sniff them. They provide heat. They're very sensual beings, and this now is alive. So if you're doing this at home and would like to show us your burning candle, you can by holding it up to your camera and turning your camera on. So in your lower left-hand corner, you see there's your camera. It's the little thing that looks like a camera. And oh my God, there's another light.
Where?
It was there for a minute. Yes. So let's see some candles. Beautiful. Yes, so hold them up. That little green light at the top of your screen. That's it. Beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, let me go get a candle.
There we go. Gorgeous. So we've all brought something to life. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you, everyone. It's magical. This was inspired by an artist named Urs Fischer. And Urs Fischer is a brilliant sculptor. He builds these incredibly large sculptures of famous people. He also does sculptures of himself, self-portraits. And in fact, though, that they're not made of marble or concrete, they're made of wax, and they are huge candles. Because if you look at the top of them, there's a wick, and then he lights the wick, and the art begins to disappear. It is truly conceptual because it will never look the same way twice, right? It is beginning to disappear. Magic. So if you want to stay with me, you're welcome to. If you want to turn off your camera, it's in the lower left-hand corner. You can just click on it and it'll turn it off. But you're welcome to stay. It's up to you. So Urs Fischer created these magical, huge sculptures that then disintegrate. They start to fade away, right? And we look at these things, these conceptual artists, and we wonder, are these people rich? Can you sell Gonzalez Torres? Can you sell Urs Fischer? Yes, there is a market for this stuff. Conceptual art has a place in the market. It works. It actually works. You can sell these things. Okay, so how do you sell an Urs Fischer? Well, you sell this beautiful sculpture he's done, and then you don't light it. You don't have to light it. You can just leave it. You don't have to light it at all. When you see them in the museum, they light it, but they don't light it all the time. They have to keep it, because it costs a lot of money. But people pay millions of dollars for Urs Fischers, and then they just don't light them, or they light them when their friends come by. It's like, look, I'm going to light this. Oh, you see, that just cost me $4,000 having that lit for half an hour. They can show off with it, but they do have a piece, although it's mutable, it's changeable. With Felix Gonzalez Torres, if you bought the candies on the floor, you would get 355 pounds of wrapped candies. Well, you're like, well, anybody can go out and buy wrapped candies. Who cares? Well, yes, but you also get a certificate that has your name on it as the owner. And you get an instruction manual, and you get a testimonial from a curator at the Guggenheim saying that this is important AIDS art. This is living art. Now, some people don't even put out all those candies on the floor. They just put up the certificate with their name on it. That's all they put up. In other words, the artwork doesn't exist. These are big sellers. One of the best movies about art is, in fact, a movie about conceptual art, although it doesn't start out that way. It's called The Horse's Mouth, and it stars Alec Guinness, and he also wrote the screenplay from 1958, and he plays an artist named Golly Jimson. And Golly Jimson is a national treasure. He is a famous British artist in the 1950s. His paintings are in the Tate, which is London's great modern and contemporary art museum, probably one of the great contemporary art museums the world over, one of the top 3 or 4. And his work is in there, and he's having a major exhibition. And people all over London own his artwork, they're national treasures, but nobody can stand him. They can't work with him. They hate him. Nobody will hire him because he's crazy. He lives on a houseboat that's sinking. He's always getting thrown in jail for drunkenness. He's totally insane. And the only way he can ever get anything painted is to wait for one of these rich people to go on vacation. And then he sneaks into their house, he breaks into their house, clears away a wall, and paints a huge mural on it. Well, when the murals are done, he hates them. He always hates his work when it's done. So he just leaves in disgust. These people come back from the vacation and their wall has been ruined by this huge mural, but they can't destroy it because it's a national treasure. So what happens is, in his neighborhood, there is a church, and it's going to be torn down by developers. They're going to build an apartment building, and he doesn't want to lose the church. He loves that church. It's beautiful. So he breaks into the construction site. He sets a table out on the street, and it says, art lessons, £1. He draws on the massive wall of this church a huge paint by numbers design. It's just the outline of a huge mural with the numbers corresponding to colors. Then people come and sign up for his art lesson, £1. He sends them up the scaffolding with paint. They get a quadrant, and his students create the artwork. It's completely conceptual. It's like Damien Hirst. It's like Jeff Koons. He doesn't create the art. It's like Felix Gonzalez Torres. He didn't invent the light bulb or the candies. He just reutilized them. This is what Alec Guinness is doing. He's getting somebody else to create his art, right? And when the scaffolding comes down, there's a huge mural that he didn't paint, but it is a Golly Jimson, a huge mural. And guess what? They can't tear down the church because it's a national treasure. They can't destroy Golly Jimson. It's impossible. But he hates it. Remember, he always hates his artwork. So he gets into a bulldozer and he himself knocks it down. It's a completely conceptual moment. It exists only as a concept. The execution is destroyed. He executes it. and it's rubble at the end. Now, this ties into the self-destructiveness of a lot of artists, conceptual artists, but many other types of artists. Artists can be very self-destructive. Many have committed suicide. Van Gogh, Mark Rothko. So let's have a little moment of perhaps desecration. I want us to claim our bodies. I want us to turn our bodies into self-portraits. We're going to lay claim to this body. Now, of course, our body, we didn't create our body. I mean, we've had an influence on it, but we didn't create it. Our body came from our parents or the stork or, God, or, it didn't come from us. But we're going to lay claim to it today with a pen. So I'd like you to get a pen. And if you're concerned about toxicity, maybe you want to use a children's pen. Maybe you want to just make little marks, not a full signature. But that's part of it, a bit of desecration. And we're going to actually write our names on our bodies and lay claim to them. We're going to turn ourselves into self-portraits by signing our name, just as Da Vinci signed the Mona Lisa. We're going to sign our names to our bodies. So let's do this at home. So I've now written my name on my arm, and I am a self-portrait of me. I've signed myself. Do people want to share their signatures? As I say, you don't have to sign it. You could just do little marks. Do people want to turn on their cameras and share some signatures?
How do you turn the camera on?
Go to the lower left-hand corner of your screen. There you go. Oh, there, yes. Oh, I'm seeing, thank you. Thank you. I see a signature. In the lower left-hand corner of your screen, there's a little camera icon. And you just click on that so that the, yes, good. I'm beginning to see, yes, thank you. Some masterpieces.
I'm not going to mark my arm up. I just took a shower.
Okay, well, you're a self-portrait anyway.
I just learned how to do this. Is really incredible. It's really incredible.
Thank you. Yes, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Oh my God, we got 5 signatures. Thank you. Beautiful. You're all masterpieces. And you've laid claim. Now you truly are a self-portrait. Until this disappears. And it's conceptual. That won't always be there. Eventually, you will either have to re-sign it or just it'll be a moment, a conceptual moment.
Oh, wow.
Thank you. You're all conceptual artists. You've joined us. If you want to stay visible, you're welcome to. Or if you don't, you can turn off your camera in the lower left-hand side.
Well, I'm in a dark room. How do I do this? I have my lights off. Oh, I see my face a little bit there. Okay.
So I went through a self-destructive phase as a conceptual artist. When I was in college, I actually sewed my fingers together. I took a needle and thread and sewed through my flesh and connected my fingers as a statement on control, on restraint, what college I felt was doing to me. I also ran naked around the city one night, hoping to be arrested. I was making a statement about clothing and curfews and things like that. Well, I wasn't arrested, I failed, but that was my conceptual moment. I lived one night in the park across the street from my house with coyotes. I knew that there were coyotes over there, and I knew that they were having a tough time during COVID-19. So I went over and showed my empathy by living with the coyotes, these wild animals trapped in the city. And at one incredible moment, they were tearing a raccoon apart, not 3 feet from my face. They're ripping a raccoon apart. And the noise was like, but it was like 40 times louder than that. It was outrageous. And actually, because I was a coyote that night, I reached in to grab a piece of the raccoon and one of the coyotes bit me right on the arm. I snuck 420 library books out of the public library over the course of a few months. I liberated them. And you can do this. If you go into the library, into the book, you can sort of pull pages apart, find the strip, and then tear the strip out. Or if you don't find it in the pages, you can shove a pencil down the spine and you'll see that it comes out. I managed to get 420 books out of the library, right? I liberated them. And I brought them here and I set up my own library in my apartment. It was the Dewey Decimal System all the way through my apartment in order. And then I put an ad in the paper and online, inviting people to come over here and liberate the books from me, because who was I? And they could take them back to the library. And over the course of several weeks, people came by, they selected the books they wanted, and they took them back to the library. And have you heard of the Escape from Alcatraz swim? People swim from Alcatraz to San Francisco. They swim across the bay. It's called Escape from Alcatraz. It's a 1 mile swim. They do it every year. On the day of Escape from Alcatraz, I went to 7-Eleven and I stole some candy and beef jerky. I then went down to Aquatic Park. I stripped out of my swimsuit and I swam from the city to Alcatraz. I swam against the swimmers. So the swimmers were coming to the city and I was swimming towards Alcatraz. I actually weaved through them, right? And I swam all the way to Alcatraz. When I got there, I crawled up on the rocks and I presented myself for arrest and imprisonment on Alcatraz because I was a thief. I'd stolen from 7-Eleven. That was my conceptual art moment. And they didn't, I was arrested, but I was arrested because I didn't have a ticket. I hadn't paid to ride the boat, so I was arrested because I just had I had bought a ticket. I did all these things. I got a lot of attention, but I never found a sponsor. I never found somebody to pay for all these things, to support me, because they were truly conceptual. There are pictures of me swimming in the bay. There are arrest records. There are some documents, but they're truly conceptual, and I never found anybody to support me. As a result, I teach. I like to teach, but I don't want to teach. I'm also a commercial illustrator, which, I hate. I hate commercial illustration. I hate it. I have my own aesthetic as an illustrator, and I'm very proud of it. And a lot of businesses, they have their product. And when I start working with them, there's a lot of back and forth. And eventually my aesthetic gets just completely erased. And what we send out as an image has nothing to do with my artistry. It's completely been compromised. And this is what I do with my arts education. Even the term conceptual art is vanishing. If you type it into Google, it says it's a job. Concept art, it's a job. You can study it, you can make money. It's a very lucrative profession because concept art is related to animation, computer animation, games animation. But it's a completely different thing. It's got nothing to do with conceptual art. It's completely different. So I often think about artists who commit suicide, artists who give up, artists who go crazy, frustration, anxiety, artists who are self-destructive. So let's have a little moment of self-destruction. I want to potentially destroy this performance. I'd like you to get your phones and turn them on. Make sure that they're on, that the ringer is on. So that little thing on the side you turn on, and make sure the volume is up, right? And I want you to turn on your sound, and your sound is in the lower left-hand corner. Turn on your mic and turn that on. And let's see who gets the first phone call. Let's see who interrupts the performance first. Okay, so we're all going to turn on our sound. And the first person who gets a phone call or a text gets a prize. I will give them $1. We'll get your address after the show and we will mail you $1. You will. And what this is all about is, when you go and see a play or the symphony or an opera, you're told to turn off your cell phones. And a part of us thinks, wait, I need to stay connected. What if it's an emergency? So I'm telling you, you know what? Your life is more important than this performance. So let's see who can interrupt this show first. The first phone ring I hear or the first text I hear.
The number.
Okay. Is that a phone call? Did somebody get a phone call?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that fast. My God, that's great. Who got the phone call?
That's Henry.
Oh, okay, great. All right, Henry, great.
I think Henry's probably a slut. That's why.
What?
Well, we make no judgments.
I didn't mean that as a.
No, I'm just saying. I think you're just stating a profession, and that's great. Okay, so we already have a phone call. Terrific.
All right.
That didn't take long. Great. So great. You've interrupted a performance. Brilliant. And you have won $1, and we will send it to you because your life, your phone, is more important than anything I'm doing. So, are there ideas out there? Does anybody have an idea for a conceptual work of art? Do any of you have ideas that you'd like to share? Your mics should all be on.
No.
So that,
But how do I? So you can hear me then.
I can hear you. Yes.
So
Do you
what am
have
I?
an idea for a conceptual piece?
A spoken conceptual piece? A piece? Spoken?
Anything.
No, I don't have a. Let me see if I have anything in my apartment that I can show you conceptually. Oh, how about some artwork that I did conceptually?
Okay. Well, showing it here is going to be the only time it's shown here.
How do I just put it in front of the like?
Yeah,
this
just
and-
put it in front of the
Yeah, I got it. Let me get it though. I have to take this
Okay.
off.
yeah. This is a conceptual moment because it's appearing live, whereas otherwise it might not.
Okay, so this is it's not really a conceptual art piece, but it's a frame that I made, and I put my father in it.
Oh,
So I don't know if you can see this.
Oh yeah.
oh, that's your father.
Inside the frame, the square part, the conceptual part is the artwork that I did. It's a clay frame that I made. I made this frame, and my father's inside the frame, which is the back,
Okay.
and this is the square here,
Yeah.
and I just placed his picture in there. But it's also it's called raku. I did it in a clay situation where you do raku. You know what raku is?
Yeah, no, I don't.
The colors on it, right?
Yeah, well, you put colors on it, and then you put it in a kiln, and then you cook it, but it comes out to whatever the art. You don't know how it's going to conceptually look because you put stuff on it, and it just comes out the way it comes out. So that's why I like it. I have 3 conceptual pieces that are just imitations of. I mean, you make them, and then you see what happens after it's made in the kiln, and it's kind of beautiful after that because you don't know how it's going to turn out.
And your father's in there.
Well, he's in the frame, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
That's my father.
I know.
Is he in a suit?
Yeah, I mean, this is just a photograph of him.
We love suits.
But he's dead now. He's
Well,
not
he's
alive.
not. Well, now he's not now.
Now he
No.
isn't. He's in the box.
He's in my little box in my apartment.
Yeah, exactly. That keeps him alive.
Yes,
So-
indeed. And us talking about him has brought him back.
Yeah.
So we have a visual, a discussion, A frame? Thank you, Michael. It's
You're
beautiful.
welcome. Well, I think it is. That's why I have it out in my apartment because I like it.
It's lovely. I mean, what better tribute to a parent than to create a frame for them, right?
And to
Yes.
remember them.
Does anybody else want to share something? Yes, go ahead. I don't think your mic's on.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Go to the window and yell. No.
No, it's on.
Lower
No, it's
left-hand
on.
corner.
Oh, wait a second. Wait.
There you go. Now we
There
got
we
you.
go. Okay.
Right.
Sorry. In college, I did a conceptual piece where I put a classified ad in an underground avant-garde art magazine, and said that if you wanted to know what time it was, you could call me, and I put my home phone number in the ad, and if I was home, got the call, then I would tell them what time it was. But if I wasn't there and they called, they wouldn't know, or they'd have to go somewhere else.
What did you talk to them beyond that, or just give them the time?
No, people would just ask for the time, and I would give it to them, and that would be the end of the conversation.
If I called you right now, would you tell me the time?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it. I mean, this is great.
This is pre-cell phone, so I had to be home for this to work.
Did you stay home more than usual?
No.
Okay.
This also sounds like it was pre-answering machine before voicemail too.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, what time is it? Oh, thank you. Great. Wow, that was great. I haven't had, I grew up, this is again memory, like Gonzalez Torres. I grew up calling Time. Remember Time, right?
Popcorn.
I haven't done that in forever. What I just did, I haven't done in forever.
Oh, you mean call time on your phone?
Right.
Yes, I remember that time.
And I completely forgot about that. I
Yeah.
completely forgot that we used to call Time. And
That's right.
on bored days I was bored, I'd call like all day long, because it was like a phone call, which was like sort of magic.
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
That's where the piece came from.
Okay. So thank you.
Time just stood
yeah,
still for a minute.
Again, memory, loss,
Yeah.
You just froze.
apology, when we use apology, we're trying to reverse time. And I feel like we just sort of reversed time with that phone call to Henry. Now time is back. So thank you, everybody. If there was reluctance, if you felt self-conscious about that, that's the artistic moments. All artists feel desperately self-conscious and they question themselves, but they do it anyway. And I feel like we just did that. Again, you're welcome to leave your cameras on. If you want to turn them off, you can go down to stop video in the lower left-hand corner, but we love seeing faces. Also, you can leave your mic on because I'd love to hear some sounds, just some ambient sounds. So artists have been even famous for suicide, for killing themselves. Van Gogh, of course, most prominently. As I said, Mark Rothko. Many have succumbed to drugs or alcohol, Jean-Michel Basquiat. And the effect on them is kind of awful because it actually makes them more valuable. If an artist commits suicide, like Van Gogh, his artwork becomes that much more valuable because he becomes a part of the story, driven to suicide, destroyed by art, right? Also, it means that there's less product. They die early, so there's less product, right? If Van Gogh had lived another 38 years, guess what? We'd have twice as much product. He wouldn't be worth that much. Same with Jean-Michel Basquiat, same with Rothko. So in other words, they make themselves more valuable both because they make the story better and because there's less work. So what happened to Chris Burden? How did he get beyond the conceptual challenge of having nothing to sell, right? How did he graduate beyond that? He could have been killed in one of those art projects. He could have bled to death, but he didn't. He survived. And how did he survive? Well, he had to change his conceptual art. He had to start creating artifacts. He had to start creating masterpieces like the Mona Lisa, right? And he created some terrific ones, unbelievable. One of my favorites was submarines, and it was dozens of submarines, little model submarines. I'm still watching out for the body of Gonzalez Torres on the floor here. Dozens of submarines suspended from the ceiling, forming a huge cube, all headed in one direction, off to war. And this so excited me because it reminded me of my attitude towards war when I was a kid, before I realized the destruction of it. All these great toys. He excited this sense of toys in me. And I decided in preparing this piece that I should hang something. So I hung these hangers. Now these hangers might look banal, kind of boring, but in fact, they're rainbow, so it's LGBT, right? It's the rainbow, right? But also they speak to the moment right now because I got them off the street. The neighbors moved out and they left these on the street, and I brought them in and created a little bit of art in tribute to Chris Burden, who hung his submarines. Now, of course, what does this speak to in the moment? Half of the people in our building have moved out since COVID-19 started. It's been a disaster in our building. People can't afford to live here anymore, so they're leaving. Our building has lost half of its tenants. 6 apartments have gone in less than a year. So these hangers represent those departed souls, those departed bodies, COVID-19, homosexuality surviving in its little way by being repurposed. And I didn't create these things, and I'll take them down tonight. So Chris Burden then created an incredible work of, you know those little model cars that we used to have as kids, little boys? You put them in tracks and they race down the tracks. He created a whole city of those, hundreds of them racing around this city. 3 stories tall, this huge structure. It was a city of little racing cars racing around, going up and down into valleys, up and down buildings, 3 stories tall, filling a huge room. And it brought back the infantile in us, right? Dada, the simplicity. Also at the same museum, the LA County Museum of Art, out on the street, he created these beautiful pyramid shapes of lampposts, this incredible lamppost pyramid, all repurposed lampposts. He didn't make any of this stuff. He just conceptualized it. And people go to these lampposts in the middle of the night. They're lit up. You don't have to pay. You see children running through them, people taking pictures of them, couples having their picture taken in front of them. They are spectacular. So he became a conceptual artist who actually creates an artifact like the Mona Lisa, right? You know, what would have happened to him if he bled to death from the stigmata, from the crucified Volkswagen? What would have happened to him if he'd been shot by that rifle and died? It hadn't hit his arm, it hit his heart. My God, what a moment that would have been. Can you imagine what that Volkswagen would have been worth? The one that he died on? It'd be like Christ's cross. Can you imagine what that rifle would be worth if it actually killed the artist? And what an incredible solution to his life that would have been. He wouldn't have had to create any more art. He wouldn't have had to come up with those sculptures because he would have died a conceptual artist. He wouldn't have to create sculptures. Suicide in art. Potent. Now, a minute ago, you were all giving a pitch, basically. You were telling me about your art, and you were basically trying to convince us about it. And you did wonderfully. And the pitch in the art world is key. It's what every artist has to do. They have to sell themselves. Why? Because, frankly, art isn't worth anything. It's not good. It has no value until somebody decides it has value. And who's going to decide that? Who do you pitch to? People with money.
Right.
Now, money doesn't confer taste, but it definitely confers authority. These are the people who will decide your fate as an artist. And if you can't attract them, guess what? You've lost money and authority.
Absolutely.
Getting back to where all this started. Authority. In World War I, authority failing. Because of course, how is money kept going? Through markets. And how are markets maintained in this country? Through war. Authority breeds war. And now it decides what is art. It even decides what is conceptual art, which was trying to break away from that kind of authority, trying to state its own authority. And here I am frustrated that I can't make money from my conceptual art. When what was the money given to me do? It would be a product of US war, of invasions, of Iraq, of Afghanistan. It would be part of all that hegemony, that conquest, that persecution. And yet I crave it. The irony of art. A magical thing happened in 1911 in France. The Mona Lisa was stolen, and for 2 years, it disappeared from the Louvre. It was stolen off the wall, that masterpiece, and suddenly that masterpiece, that static masterpiece, became conceptual once again. It was in play, it was in motion, because nobody knew where it was. It was now a conceptual piece of art because it was no longer static. It was no longer dead on the wall, right? It was like my brother's coins, right? They suddenly became currency, these commemorative coins. I stole them and they became currency and they entered the world of money again. It turned out that the Mona Lisa had been stolen by an Italian who took it back to Italy. He said, this isn't a work of French art. It was stolen from Italy. It was stolen from Italy. It belongs in Italy. So he took it back to Italy, this masterpiece. Now that sounds like a rationalization, right? I mean, no, he just stole it for money, but who could he sell the Mona Lisa to? Anybody who bought it would be party to a crime. And the judges were somewhat convinced because they only gave him a 1-year sentence for this major art theft. The Mona Lisa is considered and has been considered the most valuable work of art on the planet. It is valued at $10 billion. But it's not for sale, except this guy put it in motion and he made it conceptual once again. Just as I made my brother's money conceptual, I stopped it being just commemorative, kitsch. It was kitsch until I put it into currency. I put it into action. But of course, guilt played a part. And I wasn't doing it to make it conceptual. I was doing it to buy some things at the hobby store. There was a waiter, a French waiter named Breitweist. And Breitweist and his girlfriend were thieves. They were art thieves. They went to small museums in Europe that didn't have elaborate security but had masterworks, and they stole them. This was recently, 10 years ago. So Breitweist's girlfriend would flirt with the guard, distract the guard, and then Breitweist would walk up to a canvas, cut it out of the frame, roll it up, and put it into his jacket, and they would leave. They got 100 works of art. Breitweister and his girlfriend, 100 works of art before they were arrested. One of them was a masterpiece by Lucas Cranach. They were arrested, they were taken to prison, and while they were being questioned, Breitweister's mother took all the artwork, cut it up into little pieces, and threw it into a river. And so these masterpieces became once again conceptual. Now, what was Breitweister up to? I mean, he could never sell these things. I mean, it's all on the internet. What's been stolen? Nobody would fall for this, right? Who could he sell it to? Nobody, right? So why was he doing it? I don't know. Maybe he was trying to conceptualize it again. Maybe he was trying to activate dead art on the wall. Maybe he was frustrated that he could never own these things. And unlike a Felix Gonzalez Torres, they weren't being offered to him in pieces. All he could do was seize them. And then they were destroyed. He made them conceptual. He made them a concept. There are 90,000 artists living in New York and London, 90,000 working artists. They've been to school, they've been committed to art for decades. Of those 90,000, 5,000 make anything approaching a living. The rest do it in their spare time, are supported by a generous partner, supported by parents. The art market is outrageous. A $20 billion a year industry. And the contemporary art market is incredible. And there are many conceptual artists working in it, but so much of it ends up in artifacts. And maybe the solution to all this, the disparity, the number of artists versus the amount of money being paid out, with people like Damien Hirst getting millions of dollars for individual projects, Jeff Koons getting 50, 100, $150 million for projects. Maybe the solution is conceptual art. Maybe we shouldn't be looking for artifacts, we should be supporting people. Maybe we should look at what it costs them to live for a year and just pay them and turn the economics of the art world into a work of conceptual art, not buying artifacts that we can put on our wall and brag about and show off, but actually supporting an artist. And then maybe the pitch wouldn't just be for art, it would be for us. Do you like me? Do you like my personality? I'm going to be your artist. I'm going to be the person that you support, and my stuff's going to be conceptual, so nobody will own it, but you will be supporting the artist. Oh, you don't like me? Well, I'll go over here and try this person. Maybe that's what we need in the art world. A conceptual approach. Not so concerned with the artifacts, with the Mona Lisas, with the masterpieces. How are our candles doing?
Let me get it.
Diminished. Shorter and shorter. Yeah. They're burning down. You know, life got very complicated for a while there. I guess you could say it got worse and worse, but it definitely got more and more complicated. But I feel like we've emerged into a new era of hope. We have a new administration. We have vaccines. I'm not saying the clouds are parting, but I feel like the world's changing. Not changing back, but changing into something new, into an exciting moment. And I hope that art will continue to evolve as a solution to the trials that we've been through. And that hopefully something like Dada, a new conceptual approach that takes away authority, that takes away formalism, that takes away rules, will emerge. Let's hope. It's as simple as pulling a urinal out of the dump and putting it in a museum. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm John Fisher, and this has been Contemporary Art. We have a number of programs coming up. We have our Tuesday night reading series, which happens the first Tuesday of every month. We have a new show coming up in March. Look at our website for that. I'll be back next week with a new solo piece called Moonshot. Yes, I'm going to be the first gay man who goes to the moon. And if you'd like to support this programming, we certainly appreciate you being here. But if you'd like to support it, these are tough times for Theater Rhinoceros and COVID-19. You can make a donation to our theater by sending a check to me at my COVID-19 office, John Fisher, Theater Rhinoceros, 91 Central Avenue, number 102, San Francisco, California, 94117. Or you can go to our website, therhino.org, and click on donate and make a donation online. But more than anything, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate the participation. To the people on Facebook Live, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa. I owe you all a call of apology. One day we will figure out even Facebook Live and figure out how to talk to you there. But to all of you, Facebook Live, YouTube, and Zoom, thank you so much for being with me tonight. You're all priceless. You are all conceptualists. Good night.
Good night.
Hurrah, hurrah.
Bye.